Today on The Big Story, why a united opposition in Singapore is challenging in practice. NUS to offer courses on online portal edX. And brains, brawn and taste, we top handsome hawkers. Hello and welcome to The Big Story, where we'll discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Dylan Ang, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. The possibility of a united opposition in Singapore remains a real challenge in practice, according to Workers' Party Chief Pritam Singh. In a Facebook post on Wednesday, Mr Singh noted that different parties and individuals have different philosophies ideologically and in how they engage with issues at the end of the day. He also shared an article about a disagreement between Senior Minister of State for Transport, Lam Pin Min, and People's Power Party Chief Goh Ming Seng over e-scooter riders. In response to queries by the Straits Times, Mr Goh said he does not see any difficulty in opposition unity, stating that it is this diversity that should be embraced, not resisted. To tell us more, we have political correspondent Lynette Lai. Hey Lynette.
Hi.
Now Lynette, can you expand on why Mr Singh has brought up this idea of a united opposition now?
Well, so I think the backstory is earlier this week, Dr. Lam Pin Min, who was MP for Sengkang West, was talking to personal mobility device riders about the ban, and also present was People's Power Party Chief Goh Ming Seng. And we don't exactly know what happened because it was a closed-door session, but we heard that some words were exchanged, and afterwards Dr. Lam wrote on Facebook, that this was irresponsible, politicised the issue, and he said it stoked up the emotions of those present. So, Mr Singh shared a post about this event and had some words about how difficult it is to have a united opposition, and it seems there that he was drawing a line between the WP's methods and the methods of politicians like Mr Goh. Right.
Now you talked about different philosophies. Now Mr Singh says that the opposition parties differ too greatly, whereas Mr Goh says that he believes that differences can be tolerated and that all roads lead to Rome.
Oh, but well, you see, you have to keep in mind that the destination for different parties may not be Rome. And for example, Mr Singh has said he sees the opposition as a check and balance, no matter who is in power, whereas some parties, I believe, their goals might be the removal of the ruling party and the formation of a new government. Whereas, Mr Singh earlier this year, he said that his party's medium-term goal is to win 1/3 of seats in Parliament, so it's clearly not to form a new government. Right. So there's a difference there.
Now, Lynette, just to end things off, what is the likelihood, in your opinion, of a united opposition that will happen in Singapore? If not by the upcoming elections, possibly after?
Well, I think it's not unlikely that some smaller parties will form a coalition. You already have the Singapore Democratic Alliance, which is active in the last GE, a few GEs before that. But if you're talking about a completely united opposition, I think that's unlikely, and honestly I think it's a good thing because you have different leadership styles, you have different methods, different aims, and you look at, for example, the Singapore Democratic Party and the WP. SDP is much more confrontational, WP is more moderate, in the middle of the road, and they have been termed PAP light for a reason by many observers. And I don't think these two styles mesh, and I don't think it's a good thing that they do. I think it's good that we have this diversity.
It's a good thing that they stay separate.
Yeah.
Well, thanks Lynette for coming in and tell us a little bit more about this. Now, if you'd like to read the full article and keep abreast to how it develops, you can always stay tuned to our website at straitstimes.com. Now, moving on, the National University of Singapore is tying up with popular online education provider edX to offer courses on its platform from next year. This would include courses from top partner institutions like Harvard University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Undergraduates have the option of counting completed online courses as part of their curriculum. For a start, NUS will have at least 4 massive open online courses, or MOOCs, on edX next year, with plans to introduce more over the coming 3 years. This is the university's second partnership with such providers. The first was with US-based Coursera in 2013. edX, founded by Harvard and MIT, will give students and staff greater access to knowledge across diverse topics and specializations. In addition, the courses NUS plans to offer on edX will be open to the public and users around the world. Here with us today to share more is education correspondent Amelia Teng. Hey Amelia.
Hi.
Now welcome to the show. Now Amelia, let's get straight into it. Tell us about some of the new courses that would be available on edX.
So NUS is offering 4 new courses. So far 4. So they have plans to offer more over the next 3 years. But for the start, there will be a computing course. It's about 3D spatial data sets, a professional communication skills course, as well as a data analytics course next year. That is for professionals like in the build sector, like architects and engineers. And then there's also another course on US-China relations, and which is offered by the Asian Research Institute, I think. Yeah, so these are the 4 new courses that they are going to start with next year.
Right, Amelia, now NUS says that these courses will be available from next year, but you also noted in your story that they plan to offer edX courses to the public?
So these courses, the 4 courses, will be open to the public, as in anyone around the world, anyone from other countries as well who can take it, and it's for free. They're called massive open online courses, or for short MOOCs, and they're usually free unless you want to earn a certificate, and then there's some sort of a small cost fee, a few hundred. And so essentially you don't have to be a student, an NUS student, to take these modules that are offered by NUS. And it's not the first partnership with such a provider. NUS started with Coursera, another US-based provider, in 2013, and it still has a few ongoing modules with Coursera now. And I think NTU also has a few modules on Coursera. So one is on forensic science, and the other one is on philosophy, Confucian philosophy. Yeah.
Now, just to end off, how would this work? Could students actually do, maybe eventually, but could they do all of their curriculum online and just completely just do that and get their degree?
So no, not really. That's
you can't escape from the traditional university.
There's no way these online learning modules could bypass traditional universities. So there's still a limit of up to 4 modular credits an NUS student can take using these edX courses. But it does let you choose modules that from the likes of like Harvard or MIT, and courses that would not have been otherwise available to you as an NUS student.
Right.
And I think it's good now because you can even get it recognized as part of your curriculum. So a portion of it that lets you kind of design your own curriculum, which is under the unrestricted elective portion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
very exciting stuff.
Yeah. So it's part of this whole wave of MOOCs that started in 2011 and gotten more popular since then. And the idea was that these online modules offered by elite universities would disrupt traditional higher education by making it more widely accessible to people around the world, especially those who are poorer or underprivileged in some parts of the world. But actually, studies have shown that it did not really work that way, and in the end, the modules, these courses end up having a different audience. And the people who took up these modules tended to be your typical university graduate who already had a degree and who are very highly motivated learners anyway. So now they have kind of like quietly evolved over the last few years, and now MOOCs are more targeted for people like uni students who want to learn something else beyond what they have in their home universities, or for adult learners who are trying to pick up a particular skill to help them in their career. Be like cybersecurity, data analytics, which are all the hot things now.
Right. Thanks, Amelia, for sharing more with us. I think there's certainly a lot to look forward to in the future. Now, if you'd like to read the full story, head over to straitstimes.com. And now on to What's Trending, where Kim will take us through the top trending stories today. Kim?
Thanks, Dylan. It's time for What's Trending. First up, updates on the e-scooter ban. Foodpanda announced an e-scooter trade-in program for its delivery riders yesterday. Riders who have completed at least 100 hours of service from October 9th to November 7th will get a free e-bike from the firm by trading in their e-scooters. GrabFood unveiled their details of their own scheme 3 days ago, and Deliveroo is expected to share details of its scheme imminently. Next up, in adorable news, a puppy with a tail growing out its forehead is making its rounds around the internet. Now, the extra tail doesn't seem to be connected to anything, seems to have no real use, and luckily it doesn't seem to be hurting him for now. The puppy has been appropriately nicknamed Narwhal. Aww. And finally, 2 nurses at Ohana Vet Care in Pasir Ris have been suspended after a video of their inappropriate behaviour with animals was posted online. Now, be warned, this is a little bit graphic, but the video shows the nurses juggling and throwing teardrop-shaped objects believed to be testicles, as well as, if you can see, as clapping behind a cat that appears to have its ears removed. Now, Ohana Vet Care chose not to terminate their employment immediately, but they did say that if the nurses do stay on at the clinic, they will be confined to administrative roles and not handling animals. What do you think? Is this punishment appropriate? Let us know in the comments. Now that's all for What's Trending today. If you've seen a story you'd like to share, link it in the comment section below. Back to you, Dylan.
Thanks, Kim. And finally, to end off Friday on a light note, the Straits Times will put out a feature on handsome hawkers in Singapore on Sunday. The story will feature 5 good-looking hawkers from 4 different stalls across the island. The feature is about more than just looks, and we'll talk about their journeys as hawkers. With us in the studio to tell us more is ST Food Online Editor Heidi Koo. Hey Heidi.
Hi.
Now Heidi, now many people will have seen various handsome hawkers on social media, before now. It's not a new thing. Now, what in particular made these hawkers stand out for you?
Well, clearly they are good looking, that's for a start. And I think what's important about them is that each of them have their own story. Because I think to be a hawker, it takes a certain kind of character, resilience, and you've got to be very determined because it's not an easy life.
Right now, Heidi, maybe you could tell us a little bit about, are there some particular hawkers that you want to highlight, maybe give us a bit of a
teaser?
Before
yeah, sure.
Sunday.
Yeah, well, there's a couple that is just right near our office in Toa Payoh, and very young couple. He's 28 and he's the fishball noodle seller, and a video of him that his partner and also fiance took of him went viral and was widely shared online. And they are Indian, but they are selling Teochew mee, fishball noodles. So I think that was originally she took the video because she wanted to share how he's not Chinese but he can make noodles. But it became like people were crazy about his looks and him being a hunk and all. I think it's really courageous of them to open a store without a prior experience in hawker life.
Right.
And I think people should go down and give it a try and support them because they are trying to preserve hawker culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Heidi, of course, the bigger question, of course, would be, does the quality of food match their looks? I mean, they could look really good, but if their food is kind of so-so, and I mean,
Yeah.
defeats the point,
Yeah, that was a question that I was very curious about myself when covering this story. Because usually I fear handsome hawkers or good-looking hawkers because you're wondering whether they're spending more time on their looks or actually cooking your food,
Yeah.
and if they can really cook. But, well, I've tasted the food at each of the stalls that I went to, and
Are you gonna tell us? Are you gonna tell us which was the best dish for you?
well, I did like one of the fishball noodles. As to which one, I'll leave it to the readers themselves to go down and experience it themselves.
Well, great. Now, thanks, Eddie, for sharing more about this feature and for coming on the show. Now, be sure to get the full article in the Sunday Times or at straitstimes.com this coming Sunday. For more news and videos, do head on down to our website at straitstimes.com. And once again, I'm Dylan. Thanks for watching The Big Story. Have a good weekend, and we will see you next week.